Welcome, everybody, back to the 6 Yard Box podcast, the podcast of the Juventus official fan club Toronto. This is episode 8, and I am your host, Joe Chiraco. This is episode 8 of our podcast, brought to you by our sponsors at Creative. That's KRE8IV. For all your web design, branding, and digital needs, creative.ca is the place to be. Fine folks over there that have done a lot of great things for us, our website, and many other services. That's KRE8IV.ca. I'm joined by our co-host, James Martino, John Groh, as always, but I'm very happy to welcome our new guest for this week, the president of the JOFC Westchester, New York club, Timothy McDermott. Tim, thanks so much for coming on here. Welcome to our podcast. How are you doing? And tell us a little bit about yourself, but more importantly, welcome to this podcast.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to be on this. I have been listening as I've been getting more into podcasts, so just trying to find all the Juve niches, and you guys do a great job at it too, at recording and giving all the news and details. Definitely doing a lot better today in these pandemic type of times because of COVID with the Juventus win, even though it should have been a lot wider of a margin than what it was. But yeah, I guess we'll dive into that a little later on.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into that. We are recording, our listeners listening and viewing on our YouTube channel. We are recording this just hours after Juventus's win over Ferencváros in the Champions League. But before we get into that, Tim, I want you to, like we always do with our guests, we like to hear how they became Juventini. So tell us a little bit about how you became a Juventino, and then we would love to hear more about your fan club. You're the president of Westchester, New York's club, a fairly recent, fairly new club. We would love to know more about that and what you guys are doing over in New York State.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I became a Juventini is sort of similar to a lot of people, but sort of unique and different in a lot of ways. So I grew up despite my last name being McDermott, I'm 25% Irish on my dad's side. I grew up basically raised by my nonna and nonna, and every day, I mean, not every day, but every weekend, I'd see the Juventus games on TV, and I grew up playing American football. So there's one thing I knew, is Juventus was my team in soccer that I support, and that they're a soccer team. I didn't know anything else up until basically 2006. I was sent to school with jerseys in elementary school with Juventus jerseys on, black and white stripes. Used to get made fun of nonstop. Why are you wearing a referee jersey? I was like, that's it. I play American football. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. Then in 2006, Italy made the run in the World Cup. I remember my uncle, who's not that big of a soccer fan but did know a lot, watching it with him and my grandfather in our house over here, and just like, wow, this is fucking amazing. Excuse my language, but I was like, for some reason, like, I had passion. I knew who Del Piero was. He was coming off the bench, Cannavaro, Buffon, and I was like, holy shit! Like, I was like, what? I feel better watching them than even though I was fairly young. I'm only 27 now. Feel better watching them than I did watching the Dolphins. So that year, I ended up going to Italy with my grandfather after Italy won the World Cup. I got Italy jersey and Juventus jersey. First time when I came back that summer, I wore it with pride. Still continued playing American football. I sucked at soccer back then. I'm not that great right now, but I have progressed a little bit. When I was in Italy, they would make me stand in goal, and I just got better and better. In high school, I ended up quitting football because I was getting recruited a lot for lacrosse. And I was like, all right, it's my senior year. The soccer coach was sort of hassling me to play soccer. So I decided, hey, I've been watching soccer basically since 06 on and on, like a little more intuitive and into it. So I decided to play, became the starting goalie, wore a Buffon jersey a couple of times in goal. It sort of, it made me feel even more pride about it. And then, of course, all my friends were playing FIFA. So it just progressed. I got more and more into it. And then in college, I think that's where I really became the, I guess, ultimate tifosi for Juventus. I was basically spitting facts between me and my nonstop. Oh, this and this. We were having arguments. And then my senior year of college, I remember I tried to start the Juventus official fan club, and they denied me. And I was like, God damn it, it must be because of my last name. So fast forward, maybe, when was it? Last year we started, 2 years later. Me, my cousins, and a couple of my cousins' friends were talking. We were like, yeah, we should get it started. I was like, oh, yeah, I sort of started the process. They denied me. I guess we were too close to New York City. So I was like, let me start again, but this time, and I'll admit it because we're already a club, but I put my name down, not as Timothy, as Timoteo, as the Italian version of my name, hoping that it would give me a little in. And from there, they accepted, I guess, the bid. And from there on out, it just grew. It was who knew who, my cousins' friends, their friends. And it started off as groups of friends, and we became family. We would get together, and we're only a year in. We're a fairly new club, but we're growing and growing. We have people reaching out to us. Oh, what do I got to do to join? I see you guys on Instagram. I hear from X, Y, and Z about this and this. You guys have a cool setup we have games at viewing parties at Cafe Classico or this other bar by us, Mickey Spillane's, depending on the game. And it just grew, and it's really basically I had a plan for advertising. I was a marketing major in college, but basically we've gained about 48 to 50 members all throughout word of mouth. No advertising on social media, nothing at all. My goal was to offer a very competitive price. And while I do respect a lot of fan clubs doing bundles and being like, okay, $45, $50, you get the shirt, which is an awesome idea. I know a lot of our members sort of are a little stubborn and didn't want that. So I decided, hey, let me offer a competitive price, flat rate $25, and that's it. And I think that's probably been the key to the success of the Juventus fan club so far, of Westchester.
That's great. And I know you guys are only about a year and a half old. So the fact that you guys have grown so much in that time is amazing. And one thing that here at Juventus Club Toronto, we've been around for 18 years, but we are loving seeing all these fan clubs, especially North America, popping up all over the continent, from Miami to LA to the Empire State Club, which we had on as our guest, Tal from New York Empire State in the summer, all over. And it's all about the love of the Bianconeri. We're in it for the love of Juventus, and it's great to see that all over the States. And if you guys are in the New York State area or in Connecticut or up on the East Coast, definitely give Tim a shout. Tim, where can we find our listeners from in the US? Where can they find you on social media or your website?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we do not have a website. We are working on that and the details. But it's me and the board, we're working on it. But it's easy on social media. Reach out to us, Juventini_Westchester, New York, and that's on Instagram. And on Twitter, if you're not on Instagram, on Twitter, you could go Juventus_Westchester. I personally run the Instagram. Our other board member, Francesco, runs the Twitter. He's a little more Twitter savvy. But yeah, we're really if you're like you said, if you're in the area, you're more than welcome to come join us. If there's even no game and you guys want to have a coffee, either I'll meet up with you or someone else will meet up with you. Everyone's always willing to discuss Juventus.
That's amazing. We love to hear that. And again, you guys in the area, on the East Coast in the US, give these guys a shout. If you guys are in the area, Buffalo, Albany, Syracuse, this would be your closest club. So definitely give them a shout. So thanks again, Tim, for that. Let's dive right into the game, the meat of it. It was a big win today, a win that I'd say, in Italian, abbiamo sofferto. We suffered a little bit today in a 2-1 squeaking out against the Hungarian champions. I'll start off with James on like we usually do is when we break down the most recent games for Juve. James, what are your thoughts on today's game? I mean, a win is a win. We qualified. Round of 16 is an important step in our quest for a treble. But break down the game for us from what you saw today.
Yeah, so I think first thing first for all of Juventini, a win is a win. We got the 3 points. We're now clinched into the round of 60, and so that's the positive, first positive takeaway from today. I think the other key takeaways from today was we were already on the back foot with the starting 11 due to the injuries. We only had one true center back in De Ligt, and that's something that really showed throughout the game. I felt on the counterattack we were really open, and we got lucky they got lucky on their goal, but then we also got lucky on a few plays where we were able to come back and get deflections. I recall one play in the second half where it was actually Ronaldo himself making a block to prevent a goal. Going forward, though, we're also unlucky. I mean, Berna hit a post. Morata hit a post. There's some great build-up play, and this is something is the big positive for me compared to last season and even going into Allegri's season, his last season. We're seeing the movement off the ball. We're seeing the 1-2 touches. We're seeing overhead balls coming out there as well. I think that's the big positive. Ronaldo again gets on the score sheet, Mr. Champions League, and it's not good for us, for our hearts, because they always make us wait and suffer for that last minute goal. But we knew it was coming, and we had to wait for it.
Yeah, agreed. John, I'll send it over to you to you. Thoughts on today's match, on today's win?
Well, watching it, I think that we were very unlucky to get this deflection and really freak goal taken. I think it kind of deflated the players a bit. I think like I said, it was just a freak to get that goal. And to move forward, we were building the play. They were playing 5-4-1 essentially the whole game. They were going for the point. They wanted the point, the away point, away from their stadium in Hungary. And again, we did everything right. I thought that we controlled the play. They had some times where they frustrated us, Ferencváros. They had a very good defender, Frimpong, who gave us fits on the back. I thought he was just absolutely fantastic. And all I kept on saying is, I want him in black and white. The guy was unreal on Morata, on Dybala, on Ronaldo. He looked like a seasoned veteran on the back line. We control the play. 65% of possession. We made them run. That's exactly what you want. We got them tired. And Berna hitting the post, I thought it was extremely unlucky. Morata coming in and just being a talisman. I thought, and James hit it right. There's actually a sense of knowing what the formula behind this team is. And it's so amazing when you know that there's this touch. You actually have a guy in the midfield, and Arthur, who was just easy. He has, okay, he's not Pirlo. He's got Pirlo-esque mentality. He's very sound. He doesn't get frazzled. He's not a guy who you can get him off his game. He doesn't gets frustrated. He plays his game, gets off, and he has been, even the last game that he played, the last league game, he was a pivotal player in the win against Cagliari. Cuadrado, I can't say enough. The guy dominates and owns the wing. He was unbelievable, and that just one touch cross into the box for Morata, it was just a thing of beauty. I think that there's a lot of confidence that's going to come off of this game. And I was talking about this with one of the other board members, Justin, is that if you could win games like this where, a defense can frustrate you, but just keep on pedaling and keep on working and chipping away, wins will come for you even at the 90th minute. And I think that that's something that we kind of lost with Juve. I know, we pulled off, and I'm always happy to admit these, the last minute wins against Napoli or Inter or whatever. You want that same type of confidence in the Champions League. And that's what the real winners, why the real winners win this competition, is that they don't give up, that you have to play 90 plus minutes against me to beat me. And if you do, it's going to hurt after the game. So we have to have that same mentality and same crunch. And, it's always great when you substitute a bunch of players and then you bring in guys like Chiesa, bring in guys, take out Bentancur, bring in Rabiot, take off McKenzie, bring in Ramsey. As the opposition, I'd be like, oh, seriously? I just spent playing 75 minutes against one guy. Now I got to pay 15 minutes against a guy who's got fresh legs and can motor right by me. So that intimidating factor is obviously a great plus for us. And to know that we have that type of firepower coming off the bench is satisfying. I know that, a few people have made and I know, Joe, you yourself, like, we're looking at the attacking duo of Morata and Ronaldo being the thing. I think that it is a concern if we don't have that supporting cast providing them the push up and getting the goals. I'd like another forward to kind of come in. I was hoping Kulusevski to be that guy. Kulu kind of looked off today. He wasn't. He didn't really fit in through while he was in the game. So outside of that, great effort. I can't say enough about De Ligt as well. The Triple D back line kind of got affected. Demiral, De Ligt, and Danilo now with Alexandro back. So let's hope that Sandro can do what Demiral has done so well over the last month or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's spot on, John. And I'll get to my thoughts in a second. But Tim, I want to know your thoughts on this game and even a little bit even of the Champions League game so far. We've been pretty. I mean, it's a pretty easy group. I don't think Barcelona or Juventus were ever in any trouble to get out of the group. But your thoughts on today's game and just the overall Champions League group stages last 4 or 5 games? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, in regards to the Champions League, I have no doubt that we'll get out of the group. However, I did say that about Italy last World Cup, and you see what happened there. So I'm going to try and keep my mouth shut with that one and just let it play out. But in regards to today's game, just as you guys mentioned, off the bench, once we made those subs, I was like, Jesus Christ, how do teams put up with this? Because once these players start clicking, it's going to be ruthless. It's going to be deadly. And I just hope we don't have a lot of players pouting that they're on the bench, but we have a bunch of potential super subs. They may not be amazing at the moment, but their potential is so great that these are the players that you'll buy off FIFA if you're a team like Roma or something like that. If you want to do a manager mode with a team like Roma, you buy them for not cheap, but like relatively good costs, and they're 78, 80 rating. Next thing you know, they're an 80 to a 91 in the next 3-4 years. I think Pirlo's philosophy is starting to build in a little bit with playing from the back. We looked very comfortable, especially with Arthur in the midfield, playing almost like that Pirlo type of role. He's a typical Brazilian in the sense that he's amazing on the ball. He doesn't score a lot of goals from what I know, but he is just a possession type of guy, and he's a very good distributor. De Ligt and Danilo look very good playing together. I had my doubts about Danilo last year. This year, I cannot say anything but good stuff about that guy. To be honest, I'm all for cutting Sandro, trying to make a profit off him. Keeping Danilo, I think he's a better center back than he is a left back or right back. But with that being said, with Cuadrado playing that right back role, I think you could get, despite his age, you could have another couple of years from him. And also, my last thought too was, I think this game showed a lot how important it is to have a midfield. Last year we had midfield problems. This was sort of surpassing from the year before that. And Sarri was the type of coach that he wanted the team to play with his tactics. You cannot tell people like Ronaldo and Dybala, this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do, especially when you don't have the type of players behind them to do that, to do those types of things. I mean, who are you going to work with, really? Khedira. It's just not really going to work. You know, maybe Khedira back in his prime, but this year having Pirlo, yes, we are getting off to a shaky start. But if anyone were to tell me that we should go undefeated right now and we should have 3 points every match, I would tell them you're absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. You got to give this man a chance to play. I know a lot of people are sort of calling for his head, especially with his substitutions, but I think Pirlo is doing a fine job right now. He's a motivational type of coach. He's not really too much of a tactician, though you've seen coaches say it before. Even Conte has come out to say it, and Conte's a man of, he has a lot of pride. He won't admit to a lot of things like this, but Pirlo used to coach on the field. He was a player coach, basically. So those are my thoughts on the game. One last thing, actually. Bernardeschi, probably the most unluckiest man on Serie A and Champions League and Juventus. A lot of people don't like him. I'm a big Bernardeschi guy. I wouldn't buy his jersey, but I have faith in him. He's just relentless when he plays, and I think that all it's going to take is for him to have a couple of good spurts and us to find the right position for him and be like, Berna, listen, this is what you're going to do. This is how you got to do it. And he's one of those type of players where you're like, yeah, steal the ball at midfield, try and play that left wing, and your job is to cross the ball. I want you to take 2 shots a game, and that's it. No more than 2 shots a game unless you're wide open in front of the goal. But look at how many posts he has hit in the last couple of years. I've literally heard people say, oh, get Berna off the field after he's literally came across the right side of the box, across the top, shot it, hit the post, just barely missed the goal about 5-6 times. Oh, get this guy off the field. He's horrible. Listen, if that's horrible, then I can name you a few players on Juventus who should not be Juventus players.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you mentioned Bernardeschi. He's been playing better the last couple of games. I think the fact that he scored and played for the national team the last international break helped his confidence a little bit. And I think it's important for him to just play more just so that his value gets added in the event that they want to sell him. Like in terms of my thoughts of the game. So first, I agree with you guys that the ball movement and the actual style of play is a very big step in positive direction compared to last year. It's a heck of a lot better. I just think that, you know, the style that they're playing is still a little bit, like the tempo is still too slow. I think on a better team, the way Ferencváros were counterattacking, a better team would plot in not just that single goal, but maybe 2 or 3. And it's interesting that, you know, I was watching the stream and then I was watching a little bit of the PSG Leipzig game right at the end. And Leipzig plays a lot like Juventus does, like we do, in the sense that they build through the midfield, but they go on the side and they switch play laterally in the same way, but they do it a heck of a lot more quicker. And it's much quicker and much more streamlined, and that becomes much more deadly, especially against bigger opponents. So I think the system is right, but I think the speed has to be picked up. The tempo has to be picked up for Juve to do damage on all 3 fronts. I do love Arthur. I think he's getting better and better the more he's being accustomed to the Italian league and the style of play. The one thing that he brings a different dimension, that he can dribble. He's a very good dribbler compared to Bentancur and some of the other options that we have. And the way he drives the play, much like an analogy from hockey, driving the play as someone crosses the blue line into the offensive zone. That's what Arthur gives you up until the edge of the 18-yard box, where he can give an outlet pass to Ronaldo, who will leave it off for Sandro or Cuadrado to cross it in from the right. Again, we're playing a lot like Atalanta and Sassuolo do, but we cross more vertically, cross more from the edges. But I just think that it has to be picked up, the tempo, because we should be beating these types of teams 5-0. With all due respect to our competition, I mean, we should be killing these guys. Barcelona could do it, and they're playing the worst they've been playing in so long. I think that will come, I guess, but as a fan, it's a bit frustrating to see. And you guys mentioned the talent that we have on the bench. The embarrassment of riches, the depth on this team is just crazy, because you can just bring on Kulusevski, and Chiesa off the bench. Ramsey didn't even play. Rabiot only played, I think, 25, 30 minutes. It's crazy to think how many options we have. And I like that Pirlo is playing a lot of players and rotating the squad. I think it's very important. I am concerned a little bit about the forward group. Like John mentioned, 16 out of 25 goals have been scored by either Morata or Ronaldo in all competitions. In a game where they put in 5, 6, even 7 guys behind the ball, you're really going to need guys in the midfield to step up and score. Guy like what Miralem Pjanic used to do in the Max Allegri era, or Vidal. If we're going back a little bit further, Vidal and Marquinhos used to do. Those goals in midfield would make or break those close games. So I think if we can find a way for Arthur to start scoring from outside the box, McKennie to score from outside the box, because these are guys that can shoot from outside the box, it's got to happen. Because defensively, De Ligt, he can get a goal off a header soon enough. And I think the set pieces really have to be fixed as well. That's an area that they should be really focused on. With all the great headers, I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo is probably the greatest header of the ball in the history of the sport. He should be getting more goals off set pieces, in my opinion. But I think that will come, and I think we're doing the right things. And like we mentioned before, it's a win. We're into the next round. That's one thing off our minds going forward. Turning the page to Serie A, the league where, the league that we've dominated for the last decade, it's a heck of a lot closer this year. John, I'll start with you this time. We recently won 2-0 against Cagliari. Very convincing win. We could have won by more, but it seems like we're getting better and better each game. What are your thoughts so far on this month, last couple of games of Serie A, and the games we have to look forward to over the next month heading into the Christmas break?
The game was fantastic against Cagliari. I think it was great to come back from a win, come back with a win like that after the international break. We did get De Ligt back. We were able to obviously see a formation against a weaker opponent that built some confidence. I think that that's what we got from it. We got a strong restart thing, and that essentially, coming back and seeing the not being this Jekyll and Hyde team of saying, oh my goodness, are we going to get the bad team? Are we going to get the good team? Are they going to be able to gel? But you're seeing progression in this team, and you saw it against Cagliari. We didn't see it, obviously today as much as we saw it against Cagliari. But again, this is a Champions League, different stroke of play, obviously in competition. But we did see a very positive play of the team. I thought Arthur controlled that game against Cagliari. I thought that was fantastic. I thought he was fantastic the entire game. And De Ligt, literally coming back like it was nothing ever. Like he never missed a game, to be very honest with you. So from my perspective, a very strong game. I'm still, it's contrary to what most would say. I'm a little bit concerned still that Dybala hasn't seen the form that we all want him to see. I think, Joe, that answers your question about another forward jumping in and scoring 10 to 15 goals. That if we can get Dybala to do that again this year, I think that will add that firepower that will make the decisive change or movement for the team to be more successful.
Yeah. Tim, I'll head it back to you. Your thoughts on the Serie A last couple of games, and we've got a couple of games coming up until Christmas. There's actually 10 games, I think, until the Christmas break in all competitions, most of them obviously in the league. But your thoughts on so far the Serie A season over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think having De Ligt and Di Maria play last game against Cagliari was definitely huge. So Di Maria and De Ligt were just a force back there. I think their presence alone, a lot of attackers are sort of scared to go up against them. And you saw it a little bit today in the Champions League game too. I saw strikers and wingers literally turn their back on De Ligt and not try and go inside the box. They're just a force of nature, and it sort of gets me happy for the future of Juventus. I know we have that rich history of having Italian defenders. However, maybe it could sort of switch where our center backs now are international, and our
left and right backs are going to end up being Italian. I mean, you have Pellegrini, who's on loan. You have Zappa, who we just played against. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but we own Zappa as well from Cagliari. He's a very young kid from Pescara. And, one thing is I think we got to work on, though, offensively is offsides. We get caught offsides way too much. Sometimes it's just by a hand. And you see it all the time in Serie A, Champions League for us. We get screwed all the time. Morata should have maybe 15, 16 goals by now. But my thing is, if you can't use your hand to score or your arm to score, why the hell are they marking that offsides anyway? But at the end of the day, the VAR is VAR. I think someone told me that in Spain or Germany, they actually switched that rule where it has to be the feet and leg now. It's not the arm. I'm not too sure. Definitely fact check me on that one, but it's just what I heard. But yeah, I think we're starting to take a lot more chances with shooting and scoring. We're not playing very conservative. We're really going all out. You see it even with Danilo playing center back, coming all the way upfield and blasting the ball at goal 2-3 times a game. I love to see it. I just hate to see it when other teams are on the counter attack. But when you have someone like De Ligt and Di Maria back there, I mean, you can't really, you really don't have many worries. So,
yeah, no, if I was a forward going up against those guys, the twin towers of terror there, I'd be crapping myself having to, especially Demiral, who he's crunching in the tackle, and De Ligt as well. Like, I mean, he's been in the last couple of games, like, my God, this guy is ready to play. He is tackling. He is everywhere, all over the pitch. And we really missed him over the last 3 months. And I'm glad he's back. He's going to be arguably, probably, considering all the injuries we have, the most important player, or one of the most important players going forward. But James, just your thoughts on Serie A the last couple of games.
Yeah, so it's encouraging to see Demiral and De Ligt line up together. I know a lot of Juventini were calling for this for a long time. Bonucci's injury let that happen. I thought Demiral played his best game of the season, lined up beside De Ligt. And the other thing I saw during that game was I saw Danilo press up. I saw Corrado press up further because they had the confidence in those two walls back there to make those plays. Kind of sucks that he got hurt in training, but it's not a serious injury. Hopefully he comes back soon. And then I guess the question going forward is, who are your starting center backs? I think De Ligt is a lock. And Bonucci, unfortunately, because he's Bonucci, he's been around forever, he's got a contract, he'll probably be the person lining up beside De Ligt. And Demiral's got to play his way on there, and hopefully Bonucci plays his way off. And then personally, a healthy Chiellini and De Ligt is my starting two.
But that's a key word, though. I mean, health has been a problem with Chiellini, especially. I mean, the guy can't play 2 games in a row. I don't know if he can for the rest of the year. I mean, luckily we have, like I mentioned earlier, the depth is crazy, even though it's a rough patch right now. But Demiral he's out for the next 10 days. Hopefully it'll just be 10 days. And Bonucci will be back in a few weeks. I think it's good for him to get some rest because he's played many of the minutes so far. I think even for the national team, because we know he is going to be the starter, whether it's with Chiellini or Acerbi or Bastoni in next year's Euros, he will be the starting right center back. So the less games he can play for Juve, it benefits us, I guess, long term, even though he hasn't played too bad. But it helps, have him fresher for the national team, which will need him. He'll be he's more of a key player for the national team than he is for Juve right now as it stands. So I absolutely agree with you there. And then actually we're just about to get into transfers and the defensive situation in just a second. But just to round off Serie A, the next couple games until Christmas, like I mentioned, there's, I think, 10 games, including this one, until the end of the Christmas break, which is on December 22nd. We've got Benevento on Saturday. Then in terms of Serie A, we also have Dinamo Kiev and Barca coming up in between. But most likely we'll end up being second unless we win huge against Dinamo and Barca. But I mean, at this point, we're qualified and we're good. Torino on the 5th of December should be, even though it's a derby, I think quite honestly they're not having a good year, and I think we should be winning and kicking their ass 3 or 4-0. Quite honestly, with the way they're playing. Then Genoa, another team that's in fighting for relegation, although they've played us hard. Again,
definitely our black sheep. Definitely over the last, definitely our black sheep.
That's true. They have pulled off some results against us the last couple of years. Then a big match should be interesting even for neutrals who aren't fans of Juventus against Atalanta on December 16th. That should be an interesting game to see the new Juventus versus Atalanta, who also has been a very tough opponent for us the last 2 or 3 seasons. Absolutely. And then Parma and Fiorentina to wrap up. I think it's safe to say, until for the rest of the year, we should be winning, 5 out of 5 of these games in the league. No excuse not to. I think with the way we're progressing, I'm a little selfish. I would want the 3 points out of all the games. Atalanta, maybe I can escape with a draw, but all things considering, Atalanta's not the same team as last year. I mean, they got blown out by Liverpool pretty badly a couple of weeks ago. I think people are caught on to their style, and they're still formidable, but not unbeatable. So let's hope that we can get 5 out of 5 there, because seeing AC Milan at the top is a little bit weird for me. It's just unusual. We should be up in that spot. So we'll see there with Serie A. I'm glad that the league is, I don't know about you guys, but the league is better than it's been in a long time and very competitive. So it's great to watch even the other teams as well.
A little bit of unluckiness, that goal taken away against Crotone, like Timothy brought it up. Tim brought it up, what are you talking about? You can't score the end. We lose by a heel or something. So, I mean, those are 2 points, valuable 2 points. I mean, I can talk about this VAR situation too, but I think that, it's a good league good league situation right now because of our, I would say, unluckiness and a bit of a sheepish start to the campaign. But all in all, good to see. I don't know how long Milan will stay up top, but, I always look at you have to go the distance to win it, right? So,
and it'll be interesting to see the games in January. We're facing both Milan and Inter, so that's going to be, I think, 2 weeks apart, I believe.
Yes.
So it's definitely, and Milan is one of those teams that last year they beat us 4-2 over the summer, but even in the last couple of seasons we've barely beat them 2-1 and 1-0. They've been very tough games against AC Milan. And Ibrahimovic is in great form, even though he's injured now. He's going to be very motivated for that game against us in January. And then Inter Milan, we have their number, but who knows with them? I mean, it's like a Jekyll and Hyde. Who's going to show up that day? We'll see. But that's the type of game I would like to see Dybala play against Inter, because the guy loves feasting on them. And maybe if he gets 2 goals there, it'll be a confidence boost for him as well. And speaking of Dybala, I'll actually, this segues perfectly into our next segment on transfers coming up in January. I know it's only late November, but hey, and when we just had the transfer season a couple of months, late September, October 5th, I think we got Morata very right at the end, or it was Chiesa, excuse me. But transfers again, boys. Any thoughts, Tim? I'll start with you on this segment. Any thoughts on anybody coming in? Any realistic scenarios that you think we can acquire over the January period?
So I think we're going to have a relatively quiet January transfer market just because of COVID and financial efforts and stuff like that. I could see us, however, thinking more in the future for, I guess, defensive players and trying to maintain that young Italian talent back there, and maybe potentially bringing in a striker or two. But I think what it's going to be is sort of a buy with a 2-year loan option to some of these teams, like we have been notorious to do with many teams. So one player I know that, at least I think that we're looking at, is I believe Hellas Verona's center back Lovato. He stirred a little bit of the pot earlier on. I know they just extended his contract. However, that's not going to stop Juventus from trying to buy him with a 2-year option as well. I think something like that could be big. You never know how he's going to pan out. I could possibly see us maybe bringing back one of our sort of left backs or right backs. I'm not going to say Descelio, but I could see us maybe toying around a little bit with Pellegrini, possibly, because we're just going to need that depth on defense going later on, because Bonucci, very inconsistent even when he's healthy. As I mentioned before the podcast, I'm not a big Bonucci guy. I think he should have stayed at Milan. I'll leave that for later. But yeah, I think Bonucci should go. Chiellini, I love the guy, but he's done. So we need to start looking into the future with the transfer market. I'm a big youth guy. I think that we should maybe try and utilize our U23 team a little bit. If you ask anyone from the Juventus club of Westchester, they're going to say, oh, Tim's the sporting director for the U23 team, just because we bring on these random young kids. I'm like, oh yeah, he popped in a few last year for us in the U23 against this team and this team. Yeah, he played well against Crotone. They're like, oh, how do you even know that? With me, I'm just big on the youth. I guess it's that Marchisio effect. I love Marchisio. I think he was the greatest thing to happen to Juve since Del Piero and Buffon. If he would have stayed healthy, I think he would still be playing till this day, starting in our midfield. So one name, though, I will tell you that we should try and move up from our U23 team rather than make a transfer is this kid Fagiolo. He's maybe you guys have heard of him. You guys are nodding your head, but yeah, he's an attacking midfielder. He could also play a little bit of offense as well on the wings. He's fast as hell. He came with Juventus a couple of years ago to the States and put on an absolute performance at the age of 16, and you rarely see that. So I like what Pirlo's doing with Frabotta, and I think because of Mancini, with Italy, he's just gonna start playing these young kids, because that's what Italy needs overall too. It relies on teams like Juventus, Inter, AC Milan, Roma to produce these talents. Teams like Atalanta, you're not really gonna see a lot of Italian players. It's mostly gonna be international type of players. That's just who they go for with their youth academies.
Frabotta is one of them. Another guy who is also a fullback, Tommaso Barbieri. They signed from Novara a year ago. Very promising prospect, born in 2002. A right back who Atletico Madrid was also interested in. He's currently playing for the U23s. He's supposed to be a very good young left back, right back, a promising one. And Italy's weakness at national team and even Juve's level is fullbacks. I think that's a position that we need to strengthen, whether it's a domestic player or someone from overseas. For Juve, we need, some full, although Cuadrado's played well in the kind of win-back hybrid role. Defensively, he's been exposed. He was exposed today. He's been exposed a couple times this season. And he's also getting older, and he's also only got a year left on his contract. So we do have to find a long-term solution at both left and right back. I think for the transfers, we may get an announcement in January that Alaba would join potentially in June, because you're allowed as of January 1st to sign players for next season. I know they've been working on him behind the scenes. Now, whether he comes or not, I'm not sure, but it would be a great depth addition to have for Frabotta to kind of learn from. Frabotta actually played very well with the under-21s in the most recent international break, where Italy qualified for the U21 Euros, which is also going to take place next year in the early spring, right before the Euros. So he'd be a great mentor. I think Locatelli would be another guy that they're not going to get this January right away, but they could be like a Kulusevski situation where they get him in January, he'll come in next year. Pirlo loves Locatelli, and he's only 22 still, and he's been around for quite a few years. He's been really, really good this season. No weaknesses at all in his game for Sassuolo. And if we get him, that would be a great steal. And we can get him cheap with our relationship with Sassuolo. We've got a great relationship with them. So we can get him, if we can snag him for 25 million, that might be the steal of the year, I think. But I'll pass it off to James. You're very active on Twitter. Have you heard any rumors for January in terms of who we're getting, or possible June signings that we might announce in the next coming month or so?
Yeah, so Locatelli is a name I continue to hear. He's a big fan of Piero as well, so the fit makes sense. I don't see it happening in January, but it could be like the Kulusevski signing, where we sign him now and he continues to play with Sassuolo for the rest of the year type of loan arrangement. One rumor that I still can't believe I still hear is Donnarumma.
I was just going to say that before, actually, once I finished. I was like, oh, I forgot to mention Donnarumma, but absolutely.
Yeah, I continue to hear that one. That one, I don't know how much truth is behind it. I think, that's all based off Raiola as the agent, if he can pull something off. The other big rumor that I think is more of a dream than anything else is the return of Pogba. I personally don't see it. I know, I forget the reporter who basically said if it wasn't for COVID, Pogba would have been playing for Juventus this year. Not sure about that because I don't see where he would fit in. I think that for me, usually January transfers are you go get a depth player. So that could be get ready for incoming Martin Cáceres coming in. He's perfect for that as someone who can play center back or one of the wings in case of injury. Just fits back. So I kind of see somebody of that profile, an older player who's fine with playing that type of role as a last option. But more of the future. Who's these guys that we can sign now and keep for the summer? There's one other name. I forget his name now. He played against us last year in the Champions.
Oh,
one of their. That's the gentleman. Yeah. So he's one that I continue to hear as well. Again, with the financial situation with COVID, unless that team is very desperate for money, and then we're also in a certain financial position, I don't see it working right now for January. For next summer, it potentially is there, but we would have to sacrifice something to raise the funds, and that is the age-old question. Does that mean Dybala is out? Does that mean Bernardeschi's out? And then what's their value in the open market as well? So those are the big ones that I've been tracking online. But again, I think like most Januaries, Martin Cáceres incoming because Matri is retired.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, the typical Cáceres, I think he came like 2 or 3 times in January over the last 10 years. So we might even welcome back Rugani. I mean, Rugani's only played 1 game for Rennes. And with the injury situation, you can't really rely on Chiellini and Bonucci to be healthy consistently. So maybe just to have that emergency case, you never know what can happen. John, I wanted to get your thoughts on the January window. Any possible names we could see?
I gotta give you my opinion on Rugani. I'd rather deal with the infection than go and get an emergency call up for him. I'll tell you that much. That's my opinion. I think the most interesting part about this transfer window is not who's coming in, but hopefully he leaves. Is Khedira. He's gone. Look at everyone's just got this whole. I mean, I think we'll all be smashing beer cans together if he leaves.
I'll come up to Canada. I'll celebrate with you guys.
Just make sure you quarantine for 14 days.
That's fine. For Khedira, I'll do it.
We'll bring you to the Inter fan club of Toronto so you can quarantine there, right?
I got the perfect shirt for them.
Bring them some love. So some Juve love. So I think there's talk. Like you look at the midfield, you look what he's done, and he's played well. But there's a look at Ramsey going to one of the top English premier teams. So I mean, him leaving, Kadir leaving. Look, I'm all for Manuela Locatelli. One of the things that people have to understand that really that Pirlo's is last standing pillar of that elder statesman of Italian player that we were, that Tim, you were talking about the 2016 that really has. I mean, those guys are almost godlike. Like, I call them, for me, it's like having, the Titans, like you put them thing, you can all put Warrior helmets on all 11 of those players that played for Italy in 2006, and they will forever go down in our in football folklore for Italians and anybody who's at all a football fan. And when you have the type of person that he is, and the love he has for the jersey, not just, I mean, the team jersey. I mean, if anybody's read his book, which is anybody who has it, go out and buy it. And
I bought 2 already. I gave them out to friends, and I still haven't gotten them back. So.
I mean, his absolute fascination for the Italian jersey and to represent the country is astounding. So I honestly think that he's dedicated to the Italian players, which that's attractive to me. So seeing a guy like Manuela Locatelli show up, I think that you actually get an edge with that ability. I honestly, there's been talk that Mancini and Pirlo have had discussions behind the scenes with Marcello Lippi and just talking about, really bringing back that mentality. And it was really Lippi who coached the last very significant team that really had a presence on the field. So, I mean, I think that we're looking at a revamp for the Italian team, or this growth, which Mancini's done. And I think that with Pirlo at the helm of, obviously Italy's most storied franchise and organization, that there's got to be a dialogue and a communication. Speaking of dialogue and communication, we actually go back to Donnarumma, and and James brought it up. Listen, guys, Pavel Nedved was Mino Raiola's #1 and first big-time signing. The relationship between Raiola and Nedved is unbreakable, and it's because of Nedved that the actual organization has a very strong relationship with him. Let's face it. There's no love, true love for Raiola across the entire European continent, in terms of how he is and his aggression and his tactics in terms of having players signed, be sold, traded, whatever you want to call it. But there is this absolute connection between both of them, and that has never, ever, ever frayed or gone away. It's very, very strong. Do Italians prefer, or sorry, do Juve prefer an Italian goalie? Well, the only non-Italian goalie we had, is Edwin van der Sar prior to Tech. So I mean, we're traditionally a team that carries the #1. I mean, we had Peruzzi before, that was our #1 for the national team for a short time, and we had Stefano Tacconi, and before that Dino Zoff. So if you look at the tradition behind Juve and having a starting #1 with the national team, it's almost been like a rite of passage. If you're an Italian goalie, you better be ready to wear that #1 for Juve and for Italy. So I've seen a lot of growth in Donnarumma over the last year a bit. I thought personally, I know Tech won the best goalie award. I actually thought that Donnarumma was the best goalie in the league last year. That's my opinion. Going outside of that, I'm going to tell you, I actually like the idea of seeing like a Cáceres come back. I think we have to go. I've also heard, and this is strange because I've heard this more from the journalists here in Toronto, that there's actually a play for El Shaarawy to come and play as off the bench, which really surprises me. I mean, he is. I would think he would fit very comfortably on the bench coming in and not give any type of grief to the starting forwards. Like, I mean, you have to understand, keeping a guy like Dybala on the thing, and I'll get to him in a second, on the bench is a problem for Pirlo and for Juventus as a whole. I mean, but keeping a guy like El Shaarawy on the bench, knowing that he's playing behind Morata and Ronaldo and Kulusevski when he's got to come in, I think he'll accept his place. think about El Shaarawy. He's played with the likes of, Milan with Balotelli and whatever when he was there, and Pato and whomever. And then, going to Roma, playing with some pretty big names there with Totti and whatever. I think that he's a player who would accept that role. I don't know how true and how strong that is. It's a name that just was thrown out of left field. And the last is Dybala. The longer we go without that contract being signed, I love my girls out there, especially I'm going to give a shout out to Mary Cirillo of our fan club, who absolutely loves Paolo. And I'm a big fan of La Gioia too. I think he's done wonders for us. Guys, the longer we go without a contract, the more and more I think he's not in the plans for Pirlo. And Pirlo is very clear about his plans. He made that clear to Khedira, who's frustrated now and upset. He wants to leave. What do you think he was going to do? Give you a shot? He wasn't going to give you a shot from the get-go. He told you. And, slowly that's Lippi-esque mentality. And Lippi pulled those stunts with Juventus back in the day, and historically and famously leaving Christian Vieri off of the Supercoppa lineup that went to go beat PSG in Paris 5-1 or 5-0. And he didn't even make the trip on the plane with the team because he had a disagreement with Lippi, and Lippi used him as an example. Look, guys, I love Paolo, and he's been an integral part of our team for a while, but we've given away greater talent and legends along the lines of Zidane, Baggio, that have gone and have written the history books for our club. That as sending a guy like him, although I would be disappointed, I would love to see Paolo as our captain. I would love to see him really honor that jersey. I know he's got the stamp of approval of Alex Del Piero, but I don't know. I really do think that there are teams out there who really want him, and one of those teams, and it's popped up again, is Mourinho's really interested in signing him and losing. Apparently, it's almost inevitable that whether it be this year or the next, that Harry Kane is going to look for that big contract and move on. He wants to move on from Tottenham, and what better way to go in? And like I said, Mourinho absolutely loves him, as does Pep. But we'll see who's the biggest bidder. The problem is now is you got to get him playing well so that you get best market value for him. And right now, if you can get 60 million for him, you're lucky, because in the state that he's in, I wouldn't give you 60 million for him. Absolutely not. And the fact is, I think that they're stalling on the contract as well, because they lock him in, trying to get rid of him, and he doesn't show up. That's a contract. Forget about the buyout. It's the contract. It's the year-to-year contract, and he wants an extension of, I don't know how many years, Joe. I don't know if you know, but at 12 million at minimum, like Juve wants to pay him 10 plus bonus. I think he wants 15 plus, and
Yeah.
I don't think he's a 15 plus guy.
Yeah,
And
no, I mean he isn't now. He definitely isn't now. I think with him, I mean, there was some rumors on Twitter I was reading that even Real Madrid has offered Isco plus 30 million for Dybala, and then last week Atletico offered Morata's buyout clause of 45 million plus. So essentially, we'd be keeping Morata permanently, plus another 25 to 30 million. Those rumors, there's not much basis on those. There's just the Spanish media. They're notorious for just throwing out BS rumors all the time. I think the contract extension, personally speaking for myself, is a smokescreen to try to build more value for him. So, they don't want to sell him with 1 year left on his contract, which expires in 2022, because then teams will get him at a discount. I think if they manage in January to get something like 11, 12 million, if they can settle on that, I still think he's going to be gone regardless, because I don't think I strongly think that both Donnarumma, I think, is a done deal behind the scenes, but also Erling Haaland is also a done deal behind the scenes as well. But the thing is, you can't have Dybala and Haaland and Ronaldo and Morata. Somebody's got to go. Same with Locatelli coming in. Two things on him before we end off the podcast. Snap him up now, because I'm pretty confident that De Zerbi, the coach of Sassuolo, will be the new coach of Inter Milan at the end of the season. regardless of what happens with Antonio Conte. I think he's out the door. Whether he quits or he's fired is irrelevant. He'll be out. And I think that Zerbi was going to come in, from what I read in Tutto Sport yesterday. He was going to be coming in after the Sevilla Europa League final loss for Inter Milan. So I think it's a done deal there. And if he goes to Inter Milan as coach, he's going to bring Manuel Locatelli with him, because he's the cog of the wheel of their team that's just doing so well. So snap him up now while we can, before a rival gets him, and you get that over and done with. That pretty much wraps up our point there. And we're at the end of the podcast. I'd like to thank, obviously, John and James for coming in again, being as regular co-hosts. Tim, I wanted to thank you again for obviously joining us. And before we head out, where can our listeners and viewers see you, see your club, Westchester, New York? Where can we find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys could look us up on Juventini_Westchester, New York on Instagram, and Juventus_Westchester on Twitter. Everyone's more than welcome to feel free to reach out to us. You're in the area, you want to have a conversation, just reach out. Like I said, either myself, one of the board members, or one of the members are always around. So we're always down to have an espresso, go talk some Juventus at a local cafe, and just shoot the bull.
Any Facebook group at all?
Yes, we do have a Facebook group. However, we're not too active on it. It's just Juventus of Westchester, I believe. One of the other board members runs it. So I deleted Facebook a couple of years ago just because, it's too much with all the arguing and everything. As you guys know, American politics, and everyone's just, So I try and stay off it once in a while. I'll re-download it just to talk to family over in Italy, because the older ones have Facebook, the younger ones have Instagram. So I try and stay far away from Facebook.
Awesome.
Fair enough. I mean, it can get toxic for sure. Thanks so much again, Tim. Again, Westchester, New York, JOFC. You can find them if you're in the tri-state area, in the New York State. Give them a shout. Tim is a great guy. And they're doing a lot of great things. Just before we wrap up our club news, we just had a very successful launch of our partnership with Adidas, a great exclusive VIP event, a sales week here in Toronto. It was very, very successful. We're going to do more of that in the new year. We are, continuing to grow steadily still, even despite COVID and its challenges. For those listening who haven't followed us yet, why not? And why haven't you become a member? Because honestly, it's very well worth it, especially if you're a general soccer fan, but especially if you're a Juventus fan. That's jofctoronto.com as our website, Juve Club Toronto on Instagram, at Juve Club TO on Twitter. And again, shout out to Creative, our sponsors. Thanks so much, gentlemen. And fino alla fine, forza Juve. Until next time. Ciao.
Yeah.
Ciao.